It's the new Jennifer's Angels podcast. This episode is Media Angel Stephanie Valle. I am Velora Gray, this week's co-host, and I have a special reveal about our guest and me.
Haha, and I'm Aaron Sepliff, the Division Chief of the El Paso County Attorney's Office Protective Order Unit. And yes, this week I have the pleasure of joining a co-host and a guest that look suspiciously similar. Spitballing here, sisters maybe?
Close. This week's guest is Stephanie Valle, my mom.
Yes. Talk about a hard-hitting journalism, getting interviewed by your own daughter. But before we do that, I want to get started to get to know you a little bit, Velora. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, I'm in softball, and I just had a game, and we won.
I love it. What's your softball team's name?
We're the Burgess Mustangs.
Got it. And I love how that's the whole definition of yourself is the softball part, but also like how old are you? Where do you go to school? Some stuff like that.
I'm 16. I go to Burgess High School, and I have
Got
one
that. Yeah.
cat.
Okay. And you have what? Sorry.
One cat.
Oh, okay. And his name is Mayonnaise, right? No, it's not.
No, it's
What's his name?
Tofu.
Tofu. I've heard all about tofu from Stephanie before, and I give her a hard time because mayonnaise is white like tofu, and I can't remember tofu half the time. Last thing about you, just I need to know this. Late breaking news. What's your position in softball?
I'm left field.
Left field. Okay. That's pretty important, isn't it? I don't know softball very well.
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay, well, let's get this thing started. Are you cool with that?
Yeah.
All right. So here's the official beginning of my co-hosting duties. I get to tell listeners a little bit about Steph. Currently, Stephanie Valle manages the Puente News and Press Forward El Paso for the El Paso Community Foundation. Hopefully more on these projects in just a little bit. But just prior to working in that capacity, Stephanie served as the Special Projects Administrator for the 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office, super long title, for a year. But I betcha you probably know Stephanie for her over 20 years of work as a news anchor. She started in kindergarten, a news anchor and a journalist for KVIA here in El Paso. Or you may know her from her National Moro award-winning podcast, Borderland Crimes. Or wait, you might even know Stephanie from her co-host duties, the Plaza Classic podcast, or even her work on the Justice Matters podcast. And I'm a co-host with her on that. Heck, you might even know her from her service in the following arenas: the Make-A-Wish Foundation Board, the Center Against Sexual and Family Violence Board, Jennifer Ann's Group Advisory Board, and the Plaza Classic Film Festival Advisory Board. Or you might have also recently and briefly seen her competing in a 5K as she sped right past you. So welcome, Stephanie.
Oh my gosh, that was a very long intro, Aaron. I'm a little touched, but I'm a little embarrassed. But thank you for having me here.
I'm so excited to have you. You've once told me that we can go to lunch and I don't have to hang out with you via a podcast, but I still like you on podcasts.
I know, and it is nice to have lunch, but it's also nice to see you in this more formal setting as well. I think it's less expensive for both of us.
Good point.
All right, enough of this chit chat. I get to ask you a fun question I'm sure I've never asked you before. Who are you?
That is a good question. I think the first part is I am a mom, and I am your mom. And it's been the hardest job I've ever had, but the most gratifying. And I have 2 kids, so I'm a mom to a son and daughter. I feel like I'm someone who's very passionate about truth and justice and making sure that people feel like they are not being, what is the word, treated in a bad way. I'm very much about making sure that people are accountable, that people are forthcoming. And I think that's why I got into journalism, which is also how I would define myself. I'm someone who I'm very curious. I ask a lot of questions. I have a lot of interests. And I think that was really beneficial when I was a reporter because whenever I would do something like a story, I would throw myself into it because I wanted to learn everything about it. So I guess that's another thing I like to learn. I'm a lifelong learner. I'm a reader. Um, I'm passionate about movies. I guess all those things.
Co-host, are you okay with me doing a follow-up question? Okay, she's a very kind co-host. So I heard you talk about kids as a definition of self, number one thing you talked about. And we have Velora here, and I know you have a son that's a little older, right?
It's actually younger.
He's younger. Okay, got it. He's taller but younger. Is that fair to say? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm touching a nerve there. I could tell with my co-host. My question is, what's it been like raising a boy versus a girl?
That's a great question. I think that there really should be no difference because I think that a lot of people, my generation, your generation, Aaron, would say, boys will be boys. Boys are so much easier. Girls are more complex. And I just don't think that's true or fair because I think that boys also have emotions, but we are told that they should be suppressed. I think that girls also have emotions, but they are told they are bossy or they are hysterical. And I think going back to the comment about boys will be boys, I think that is only the case if you're not doing your part as a parent to make sure that they are being told what is right and wrong. So just having seen a lot of boys being raised in different capacities in different settings, I felt like once I knew I was having a boy, I was like, it's going to be my responsibility to make sure that he knows that certain things are not acceptable. And that, especially having a sister, that he should never treat his sister the way he would not want to see his sister being treated by a boy. And I try to also empower Velora to not like make herself small in terms of her voice. I've never called her bossy. I have always applauded her when she has spoken her mind. And so it's one of those things where I'm trying to throw out the book, if you will, when it comes to how we fall into these stereotypes, even if we don't mean to, because I think that these kids, boys and girls, are whoever they are going to be, and you just have to shepherd them in a good direction to make a better generation.
Oh, I don't want to jump on my co-host's follow-up question. Do you have any other question you want to ask him, Mo? Not the one that I written down, another one.
No, I think you've covered pretty much anything I would have wanted to ask.
Okay, well, maybe you'll be thinking of one when I ask this next follow-up question. Stephanie's used to me all my follow-up questions from our other podcast. I wanted to hear a little bit more about how podcasting has worked for you, especially in the borderline crime one, because you've told some really difficult stories, particularly about kids. And I wonder about the toll, or maybe no toll has been taken, but that it took from you to tell those stories. Now you've got kids at home.
I think that there are certain stories that I've told that, especially being a mom, when this person was a mom, their loss, I felt it so much deeper because I couldn't imagine how their children felt knowing that their mom wasn't going to be there anymore. And the beauty of podcasting is that as opposed to a news story, is that you're able to put a little bit more of that objectivity or your own thoughts. And so I put that in there because I am a human and I am a mom. And I think that everybody is suffering that loss, but I wanted to bring it home in that way because the whole point of the storytelling is to create a connection in the community, that these people weren't just a statistic, that they weren't just a photo. They're not just, another crime victim. They were a person and they had a family and they were loved and they loved. So I think that it really resonated. I think I became a better storyteller when I became a mom. It made me more empathetic.
Okay, Mom. Well, you've changed your job a couple times. So, what is your job now?
That is a great question because you've been front row seat to that. So my job now is I am in charge of Puente News and I'm in charge of the Press Forward El Paso chapter. Both of those nonprofit news organizations are under the El Paso Community Foundation. The goal of both of those is to support local news, to help support local journalists, to grow local journalists. Puente does a lot of border reporting. So we have reporters all along the border who are covering from San Diego and Tijuana to Brownsville and Matamoros on both sides of the border. And that goes back to something else that I care a lot about, which is that we all should be telling our own stories. And I think especially being on the border, it's always misconstrued as a dangerous place. It's always labeled as there are just two issues here. It's border security and immigration. And there's just so much more to this community than that. And so my job is to make sure that those stories are told, but also that we are helping sustain local news in our area.
Wow, that's a good reason to switch jobs. That sounds like a pretty good choice to me, Velora. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
And the hours are good too.
That's important.
Our second question is, how have you helped boys and girls develop a healthy self-image?
I think that work is something that I look at when I talk about you and your brother. I tried to make sure that you two feel comfortable in your own skin because I mean, I was a teen and I remember how hard it could be. You're looking at yourself in the mirror, you're looking at your friends, but I think more so now with social media, um, it is like it is unbelievable how bombarded we are with content about how people should look. And I know that as a mom, I probably get written off as like, yes, mom, I know you say I look good no matter what, but to me, it's just really important that you feel comfortable in your own skin and that you don't have to undergo like massive changes or use filters or things like that. Just be who you are and you don't have to change that. So I think that's what I've tried to do on a micro level when it comes to supporting kids.
So that is the micro discussion, is how you help the boy and girl in your household develop a positive self-image. But I just put out there that seeing a strong Latina on the news every day for 20 years is one way that girls can learn a positive self-image. So I wonder about how that has gone into the work that you put out into the world, whether it's been a factor, how you've shaped that. Could you talk a little bit about that?
I think the one thing that I think about is it's kind of silly, but when I started wearing my hair curly, it was something I would always wear it straight. It was supposed to be like how news anchors wore their hair, and I don't even remember what prompted me one day to just try and wear it curly. And I got a lot of comments, some not so nice, but a lot of compliments. And even still today, even women who are my age will come to me and they'll tell me how seeing me on television wearing my hair naturally made them feel like maybe I should do the same. And I think it just is a part of like what I was saying earlier is just embrace who you are because not everybody has the same hair texture or style. Not everybody can wear it a certain way. And so I think that was one thing that I did that I was really surprised because to me, it felt like a very small thing that I was doing for myself. But I feel good knowing that other people felt like they could also be themselves, just seeing me be myself.
I know you're on a couple of boards, so how in those capacities have you helped boys and girls develop their self-image?
I think that's a good question. I think that a lot of the work that I did on Make a Wish and even with candlelighters when I was with the candlelighters board, which is helping kids who are battling childhood cancer, as well as the Center Against Sexual and Family Violence. A lot of those boards, with cancer, your physical appearance changes. And for Make a Wish, these a lot of the kids I spoke to when I would do stories for them to, talk about Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, which is in September, they would they would often say how they were embarrassed to go to school. They were scared to lose their hair. They didn't want to tell people. And then they would say that at some point they just stopped caring because either they got very sick or things started to turn a corner. And I think telling those stories does help indirectly affect other people when maybe they're battling the same thing, or maybe they know someone who's battling cancer, and hopefully hearing those stories helps change their perspectives. And I think the same, especially with the Center Against Sexual and Family Violence, because that's an
And
internal image.
you also served on the Jennifer Ann's group's
Right.
advisory board in a
Yes.
similar way, right?
Yes. Yes. Very good point. Because Jennifer Ann's group, which deals with teen dating violence, and the Center Against Sexual and Family Violence, you're talking about the self image, like not necessarily looking in the mirror all the time. It's how they view themselves as a person.
Mm.
And so being able to talk about the resources that are available, the warning signs, I think that helps people too, because if they see themselves reflected in those behaviors, hopefully they know that there is help. Um, so a lot of the work I've done has been just trying to raise awareness and spread awareness. That way people may be inclined to take a look at themselves if they answer yes to any of those questions.
Hey, Velora co-host, it's my opportunity now to ask the third question, and I get to turn to you. What challenges have you had, Velora, in developing a positive self-image?
Well, being in high school, there's a lot of pressure of the people around you, especially since a lot of people value their looks and all those types of things. So it makes me, it sometimes makes me feel like, not pretty enough and stuff like that. But honestly, I try not to focus on that part of my image. I think about, the other parts of myself, like my grades and my reputation in school regarding clubs and sports. And I try to develop that because in the end, like, it doesn't really matter how pretty we are because it's just high school and we're developing. So, yeah, I try not to focus on that.
Yeah, wow, wise words. So what activities do you get into, and how do they help you develop a positive self-image?
Well, I'm a part of a mentorship program called the Bex Buddies. So, not only well, freshman year, we are the mentees. So, our upperclassmen would help us navigate through Bex, which is our early college, and they would help us with trying to organize ourselves and not get overwhelmed with work. And they'd be like the big sister, big brother that we don't have, like some of us don't have. And not only would they help us with schoolwork, but they would help us navigate high school in general and just like understand how things work. And it really helped me a lot. And now that I'm a sophomore, like I'm helping those freshmen and I'm giving them advice, not just on schoolwork, but like, oh, boyfriends, friends, teachers, all those types of situations.
We're not talking about boyfriends. Your mom's right in the same situation. We're not no. Wow. So gosh, I went to high school in the dark ages. And mostly what the upper class people did to me was throw ice as we walked to Taco Bell. So it's like you've come a long way. That's amazing. That's a really great program.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you developed like sort of long-term friends as a result?
Yes. And I think especially in that program, like you meet a lot of new people and I don't just become friends with people in my grade, but because it's a lot of us, I become friends with seniors, juniors, freshmen, and it's very diverse.
Wow. Okay, so that was the third question. The fourth official question, wait, I'm doing it the wrong way in the Zoom. I give it back to you, co-host.
Okay. And so our last question is a combo. I'll answer first, and then I'll pass it on to you, Mom. If I could wave a magic wand, how would I help all girls and boys as they grow up to participate in healthy relationships? Um, I would help them by telling them to like focus on themselves. Like
Mm.
put yourself first rather than the other person because in the end it's about your mental health and your physical health and your grades and whether you're going home happy. and stuff like that.
I love that message. So, Velora, how would you get that out with your magic wand? It's like a Harry Potter wand. It does like everything.
Um, I I think I'd like wave my wand to give people like self-confidence.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay, I interrupted. It's still your question. So now I understand you're throwing it over to Stephanie. Is that right?
Yes. So now I have to answer. First of all, I want to say that I think Gen Z is going to save us all. I think that was a beautiful answer,
Mhm.
and I'm really proud of that answer. And also, I agree with Laura. I think that um, if if I could wave a magic wand, I would want, um, especially girls, because I feel like no matter how many years pass, girls are always um, falling. Like a lot of girls tend to put self worth on what other people think of them.
Mm.
I would say, like, just like Valora said, focus on yourself because you're the only person who is going to ultimately live your life. And how do you want that to look? Um, where do you want to be? And how do you envision that? If that you're just living for your own life for yourself, that's what I would want. I would want girls to believe in themselves and not doubt themselves. If I could wave a magic wand, I would maybe assign or like allow them to find that trusted adult who believes in them because I think that especially as a high schooler and middle schoolers, they are either relying on themselves, relying on their friends, or sometimes their parents. And sometimes parents don't aren't like the best at encouraging them to be their biggest self. They want them to stay home, you know? Like, be
Stay at
close,
home, right?
be close. Yeah. So that's what I would do is help them find someone who believes in them.
So my ulterior motive about this question is I'm asking it in every episode so that at the end of each season I can write them all down and we can all sort of collectively look at, okay, is it possible and how do you ever envision something if you don't say it out loud? So both great answers. I'm really excited to add that to the list. Add these to the list. Smart people I'm working with here. So Stephanie, it's gotten late. We waited till after my co-host was finished with her amazing sports duties. Where they won. What was the score, by the way, Velora?
Ooh, I don't know.
It was
A
it
lot
was
to a little.
it was 14 to
Yeah.
4, and she did not mention that she got a triple at the very end of the game. So she hit, in case you don't know, hit the ball, got all the way to third before they finally figured out what was going on. So it was amazing.
You gotta speak up, Velora. That's amazing. Got a trickle and 14 to 4. That seems like a lot. Is it usually 14 to 4?
Uh, well, not for us really.
Oh, wow. She's like,
We're doing better though. We're doing pretty good.
That does sound like a good evening. So, but Stephanie, I want to take this opportunity to offer my continued appreciation for your leadership in our community. Um, you bring such light and smarts and fun to pretty much everything you do. And I, for one, am a huge fan. I already got my badge on Facebook liking your stuff. And so like I just really appreciate any chance to talk with you.
I feel the same way, Erin. I think that you are doing so much in our community to support young women and families and to support healthy relationships and healthy self image. And I think this podcast is an example of that. So thank you for asking us to be a part of it.
I'm Drew Crescenti with Jennifer Ann's group. In today's Gamer Corner, we have Lucas Vially, a developer from France who has designed several of the games for our Gaming Against Violence program. Games include Culture Overlord, a 2020 Games for Change finalist, and Time to Explain, a 2025 communication game created with Falafel Valori.
Hi, I'm Lucas Vially and I'm a developer from France. I made a few games for Jennifer Ann's group annual competitions, such as Culture Overlord in 2020, which is a game about a culture in which you choose which cultural item will appear in our protagonist's life. Then you get to see how the change in culture changes the way he interacts with the world and in relationships. And last year, I was part of the Falafel team, which was also made of Emma Das Neves, our artist, and our sound guy, Tristan Walger, who made the sounds and music. And so Time to Explain is a game about communication. It's set in space, it's set in a time loop, and in it you'll have to investigate, try and understand other entities so you can get to escape the time loop.
We can see that you are interested in important issues like media literacy and communication. Why is it that you choose to design video games when you are exploring these topics?
So I said it in the artist statement, I think, for Culture Overlord when it released a few years ago. Making a game is hard, but making a game that is both fun and educational, it's much, much harder. It's about balance, because you don't want your game to be boring and you don't want it to have nothing to be learned from. I mean, games that are just fun, they're perfectly fine, but that's not what we are aiming for here. So the games I've made and the game we made last year, they all have a show don't tell approach in which they're a game first, and they have to be fun. But the topic we want to teach about, it's still here throughout the game. It's part of the mechanics, it's part of the story, and the player gets to learn through experience, not through walls of text, but from what they do in the game. In Time to Explain, for example, you will meet multiple characters, and they all have their own objective and communication style, and you'll have to work with that to achieve your own goal. The idea is that when facing those game bits, the player will gain experience to use next time they face a similar situation in real life, say with someone who's controlling. And I think this approach is particularly useful in the sense that we're talking about relationships, about topics which aren't exactly hard science. We're talking about situations which rarely have one easy solution, so we are providing guidance instead of guidelines. I've had players tell me that they were able to draw parallels from one of those games to view a situation differently, and that's what I think the games aim for. Not to teach comprehensively, because we can't do that, but to prepare.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us and for designing these uniquely compelling games. Listeners can learn more about the importance of media literacy by visiting cultureoverlord.com. And to play the winning communication game, Time to Explain, created by Falafel in 2025, visit gamingagainstviolence.org.
Anything else you want to add, Velora?
Well, special thanks to Jennifer Ann's group for supporting this project. Want to know more about the amazing teen dating violence prevention work that Jennifer Ann's group does? Head to jenniferann.org to find out more, and then follow them on Facebook and Instagram.